Welcome to How to Money with Kole and Cole.
I'm Kole.
And I'm Kole.
We coach people every day on their money and how to plan for the future.
As financial advisors, we're here to have an honest conversation and educate you on investing, retirement, and everything in between. And we'll throw in some sports talk along the way.
Our mission and goal of this podcast is to improve your money journey and help you create the financial life you deserve.
So let's talk money.
And sports.
Welcome back to How to Money with Cole and Cole. I am Bailey Ashbrook, investment advisor representative at Central Financial Group, and go Hawkeyes.
Biggest Caitlin Clark fan in the state of Iowa, right?
Fangirling hard.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cole Peterson, investment advisor representative. And I watched the entire Iowa-Indiana women's game from tip to the last shot. And I can't say I've done that very frequently with the women's basketball. We ain't nothing against women's basketball, but man, that was one of the best games I've seen.
Ever.
Men's, women's, whatever, NBA. I mean, that was awesome.
Cole Jaskey, financial advisor. Hawkeyes, this can be a Hawkeye podcast because the male boys basketball team had a crazy setup too the day before. So
yeah, I didn't see that one, but
I did see the score on that one. But Caleb Westall, producer of How to Money with Cole and Cole, digital designer at Spin Market. I don't watch women's basketball at all, and I saw that highlight of Caitlin Clark everywhere. So it was huge. It was huge when it popped up in my feed because I don't watch women's basketball.
When Patrick Mahomes is tweeting you, you've made it.
And this is why I'm excited for our guest, because she's a female guest, and you know how I feel about females in space. And so stay tuned. We're gonna talk some sports. We're gonna have the financial lit lady Joey Beech here in a moment, and
I can confirm she's a Hawkeye women's basketball fan.
But that's why you gotta
fit in. Then
you gotta appreciate women owning their space. And Caitlin Clark is, when I tell you, I went to that game and I got to bring Cole's wife, and she can attest to this. There was no empty seat. I have never seen a women's game that packed. And the following Caitlin Clark is bringing to it, it's amazing. It's astonishing. And watching her live, oh my gosh.
Don't fact check me on this, but I saw, not a tweet or something, but it was the loudest Carver Hawkeyes, the registered, when she hit the game winner.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the loudest it's ever been. So
it was
supposedly,
crazy.
I don't know if that's true or not.
I believe that because we all jumped, and like Chelsea and me were like high-fiving, like you were high-fiving.
Chest bumping.
Yeah, everyone was high-fiving around. It was crazy. It was a great game.
Hey, Caitlin, what did you think when the shot left your hand?
It was money. And I love it because some people, and we were just talking about this prior, we won't talk about too much, but some people, give her a little whatever for being emotional. I'm like, men are emotional all the time. See, they're looking at me.
Sports are emotional.
But she is,
forget that.
She is so invested in the entire game and her team, and it was incredible.
I actually say if you don't show emotion playing sports, then you don't care enough. If you don't show any emotion, you don't care.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same thing like when Tom Brady's yelling at his teammates on the sideline and people are like, why is he screaming at his offensive line? It's like, well, because he cares. Because he wants to win the game.
My teammates and me, we used to yell at each other all the time, and it wasn't like we were mad at each other. It's like, oh crap, like sometimes you just need to be put in place during the game. So
motivation, right?
Yeah, it was exciting. And the lead changes. Why they let Caitlin Clark catch the ball, I have no idea. But it was exciting.
Yeah, it was.
Great
it was
game.
awesome.
All right. Well, let's bring on our special guest, shall we?
We shall.
All right, welcome back. I'm really excited to have Joey Beech, a financial lit lady, and also wrote A Girl's Guide to Personal Finance. Joey, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Tell us a little about yourself. How'd you become the financial lit lady?
That's a great name, by the way.
Yeah.
Actually,
let's hear the story.
So I didn't come up with it myself. I last spring was speaking at Orbis, which is this great program in the Ankeny Community School System. And it was juniors and seniors, and we spent 2 days just talking about financial literacy. And then a week or two later, I happened to be at the school for something totally different. And one of the students came up and nudged the principal who I was talking to and said, "Hey, is that the financial lit lady?"
That's awesome.
That's
You're
awesome.
Lit. You were lit.
That's great.
You're like, all right.
Yeah. I'm like, I answered to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you say financial literacy, tell me what your definition of that is, just for the audience. We do a lot of financial advisor speak here, so we try to just make sure that our audience knows what that means. So define your financial literacy, what that means for you.
For me, it means having enough understanding about personal finance that you feel comfortable making decisions on your own or knowing when to talk to somebody else. It means you you can filter some of the information because there's so much information out there these days. And I believe it's those core financial concepts that are key. And once you know those, then the technology may change, the terms may change, the acronyms may change, there may even be different currencies out there, but those concepts remain the same. And those are the things that I think if everybody has a comfort level and understanding of those concepts, then no matter what they do or what evolves in their lifetime, they'll be able to handle it.
It's kind of like a baseline.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like how you described it. And is that what the book is about? Or?
Yeah. It really is about those core concepts of, how to understand your paycheck, how to make sure the money's going where you want it to go based on your priorities, how to make those financial decisions from the everyday little things to the big purchases like cars and houses, and then investing and saving and, of course, compound interest and all those core things that throughout life will apply. And if you can understand them, you'll be better positioned.
That's super interesting, but take us back. I guess how'd you get here? How did you get to be the financial lit lady? You told us about the name, but give us a little bit about your background.
Well, it's a longer road. So I grew up in the southern suburbs of the Twin Cities and went to the University of Minnesota and got my degree in training and development. And while I was there, I fell in love with an Iowa guy.
Go Hawks.
Darn Iowa guys.
I was just going to say.
Well,
So you went from a Gopher fan to a Hawkeye fan?
I'm both.
Okay. All right.
He was a gentleman.
Yes. But so I ended up in northern Iowa. He's from Britt. He was living in Algona at the time. So when we got married, I moved to Algona and I got in at Pharmacist Mutual. And that was my first really entry point into, the financial world, and got my life and health and license and learned as much as I could about that aspect of insurance and the financial industry. And then we ended up moving to Des Moines. So I got in at Principal Financial Group. And it was great because they paid me to learn about personal finance. They not only wanted me to really understand in every detail our products and the products I was assigned, but to understand how those products fit in the much bigger picture of a good financial plan.
Principal Financial Group, obviously, I was there for 12 years. We've covered that on the podcast several times, but they have a great training program. I mean, they are all about getting you trained up and getting you in the right position to be able to talk about the products and be able to learn as much as you can about it. So I could see how you really felt like, they were paying you basically to learn about financial literacy.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, because a lot of people go, I don't want to grow up and work in insurance, but it's a great training ground. And, it's also a large organization. So I ended up working over the 20 years there with lots of different products and different angles. And each time I grew and learned more.
Yeah, I went to my daughters are in kindergarten. I have twin daughters in kindergarten. I went to their, what do you want to be when you grow up type of thing. And I didn't see anybody said insurance salesman or financial advisor. It was all like pilot, professional soccer player, teacher. Teacher was there's a lot of teachers.
Yeah.
Yep.
We need more teachers. So
Yeah, there you go, for sure. So, So then you got to the point where you were at Principal.
Yeah.
And then you transitioned to the Ankeny Economic Development Corporation, correct?
Yes.
And now you have transitioned to the Financial Lit Lady full time, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
So partway through my stint at Ankeny Economic Development Corp, I had, we were at the Iowa game at a football tailgate, and visiting. My daughter was a student there at the time, and some of her friends came over to the tailgate, and we were chatting, and a lot of them were about to graduate in really great fields and make a good income. But it was kind of clear that they weren't exactly sure what to do with it. And then on the way home, I heard one of those commercials about that. Hey, come down, get this big thing, and we'll take all your money and you'll feel good about it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, I hope those ladies understand where to put their money so that it works for them and not necessarily end up in the hands of people who weren't necessarily looking for their best interest. And I told my husband, I'm like, somebody should write a book. And he goes, yeah, you should. And I'm like, oh,
that's how it got started. I was going to say, because you seem very passionate about helping people. And I was just kind of wondering how you took the full dive into doing this. So you must just really care about educating people.
I do. That and it goes back to my degrees in training and development. And so I never saw myself as a school teacher because that's a tough job.
Yes.
And honestly, I'm not built for that. But it was kind of a combination of my personal interests and passions combined with my professional education that I got working at Principal and Pharmacists Mutual and other places that really kind of came together. And the result was A Girl's Guide to Personal Finance.
Nice. What would you say like the most common question when you're speaking or you're at an engagement or you're at a podcast, taping a podcast with a group of financial advisors? What's your most common question that you feel like you get, and how do you feel like maybe you could combat that question that, maybe it doesn't get asked as frequently?
Well, what surprised me, especially early on, was regardless of the audience I was speaking to, during the Q&A was always, how do I talk to, my parents? They're aging and I'm worried they're going to have enough money. How do I talk to my sister? She's my twin. I'm worried that she's not managing her money and not saving enough. How do I talk to my kids about money? And so on and so on. It's to the point where I just started building it into my presentations, because while money is such a big part of our life, we are not good talking about it. And I also had some of, I'll blame Bob the boomer, but he's like, they're not teaching financial literacy anymore. And, not how to balance your checkbook. And I don't think it's true. I think the teachers are doing a really good job. I think our students want to learn and are hard at it. But I think as a society, we're not talking about it enough. And if you don't talk about it, you don't learn it.
I would agree with that.
It's such a big part of our everyday life that we need to make financial literacy part of our everyday life.
I feel like a lot of people, if they just don't look at it or talk about it, then they're not going to worry about it. Like I have friends and I'm younger that they're just like, oh, it's not my thing. So I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to learn about it. Or I think they're so intimidated by it, or they miss that basic conversation that I think you're teaching and speaking to people about.
Well, and there's a perception that you have to be really good at math.
Yes.
And if you didn't make it through calculus with A's, you weren't going to be good at it. And the reality is, we all love those great stories about the janitor who worked, who died and left, $5 million to the school because he saved all his money and invested it.
It's all relative, right? You're always, with money, I feel like you can measure it, right? So everyone's always measuring, I should have this amount of money, or how much should I have? And it's a tough thing because it's always based on the individual. Like I don't need the same amount as Kole or Bailey or you. And and I think a lot of people are intimidated by that conversation.
Yeah, some of the wealthiest clients that I have seen never made over $100,000 a year. They were just good at saving and and they had a plan from the start. They had a plan from age 22 on that they were going to retire at 65 and they wanted this amount of money and they were going to invest. And so it doesn't necessarily always mean you have to make a bunch of money to have a bunch of money at the end. You just have to have a plan. And that's kind of where we come in with people that we try to teach them about coming up with a plan and coming up with a way to save your money instead of just kind of willy-nilly throwing money into your 401k and doing this and doing
trusting
that.
someone that just said, oh, this is the best product for you. That's what you should do with your money.
Wealthy is a tough term though, right? I always think of like, what's considered wealthy? Well, each person has a different definition of that. And same thing. And that's where the money conversation is like 250,000 might be enough for some people. Some people might need 5 million. It just kind of depends on, and really comes back to having the conversation.
It's the concept of enough, and enough is different and relevant for everybody. I know where I'm at. I make the decisions. I would love to have the bigger, fancier house and all the great new decor, but I've made the calculation that means it would push off my retirement. And I'm like, you know what? House is enough because I'm going to get a couple more years of my life, but I'm going to live with less decor.
Yeah,
I'm good with that.
I think when you see the end in sight, you can do that. I think a lot of people get caught up in right now. What do I want right now? What makes me feel good right now? But
instant gratification.
Yes, and I especially in today's world, I feel like keeping up with the Jones is so different because of Instagram. Everybody has the most perfect house on Instagram or the perfect birthday party, and their kids they're turning 5 and their birthday party. I'm like, okay, guys, like this stuff, I'm not trying to be. This costs money and this adds up, and you're missing out. Like sometimes not all this matters. You're just got to stay with the end in mind type of thing. And that's what it sounds like you're doing.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. I think the pressure, especially for parents these days, to make sure their child has not only all of the, keep them safe, keep them healthy, but also give them the best birthday party every year. And that's a lot of pressure, not to mention a lot of money. And I think that, ultimately, I'm not sure how much those kids are going to remember, but they're going to remember, were we safe? Were we comfortable? Were my parents stressed out all of the time?
Yes.
And I think that stress factor is a big part of it too, is because I'm a firm believer in that if you overextend yourself, you're stressing yourself out. And I can tell you so many stories of people who are like, okay, well, I'm really stressed because I need to get this thing because it'll help me relax. I'm like, well,
will it? Yeah,
exactly.
Like, really?
Yeah. I'm like, I literally had that conversation. I'm like, okay, you're worried about how much this will cost you, but the reason you're doing it is to reduce your stress. Maybe there's another way we could get at that.
Right, exactly.
Because then you're just going to look for the next thing that you're going to purchase.
Yeah.
That's going to make you feel better.
All right, so let's go back to the question that I asked you is like, what's your most common question? Now, how do you answer this? So the most common question, I'll just ask you the question as if it was me asking you. How do I talk to my parents about money? I'm not sure if they have enough. I'm not sure if they, saved properly, and I don't know anything that's going on there. How do I talk to my parents about that?
Well, first I would say is understand that talking about money is a shame trigger for a lot of people. And so it's not like bringing up what you watched over the weekend or a sporting event. You have to be very careful and understand that there's often emotions tied to that. And that's one of the biggest things, is just recognizing that. And I think the more you can approach it in a non-judgmental way, and then even show your priorities, if you can broach the topic with it, hey, I'm worried about this, is there something I can help you with as this progresses? Because I think it's taking the judgment out, being comfortable and understanding there's a lot of emotion behind it. And then there's the other things like pick the right time. I know with my husband and I know there's some clear times never to bring up something. And then there's other times like, we're on a long road trip and we have plenty of time and nothing else to do. That's a great time to talk about it. Or having a cocktail on the deck. That's a great time to bring it up because everybody's relaxed. You're not at the height of other emotions or distractions. So
kind of matters what number cocktail it is, though. Yeah. So if it's 3 or 5, might not be the best time to bring it up. If it's 1 or 2, then it's an okay time to bring it up, right?
Well, I'm not a big drinker, so that might reflect it. But no, absolutely, because the other is if you've had too many, then a lot of people push it off like oh, that was the beer drinking,
right?
Or the beer talking, and it's like no, that was probably
I really want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, well, I think it's time for us to go to a break, right? And so we'll come back with Joey Beech, Financial Lit Lady. Thank you for being here, and we'll take a break now.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital.
Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market.
Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarketwith2ks.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarketwith2ks.com.
That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026 or visit our website www.spinmarketwith2ks.com.
Welcome back. I'm excited because we're going to have our first guest do the dollars and cents.
Dollar bills, y'all.
All right, Joey. Dollar. Yeah, did you like that?
You have great sound effects.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Shout out Caleb.
Shout out Caleb. So we have dollars and cents. Usually Kole and Kole do it. So we just do a little lesson for the audience here. And you're going to do dollar cost averaging.
Yeah, so she was talking about a tip that that she had given some people, and I thought that would be a good thing for us to do. So dollar cost averaging on the way in, we talk a lot about that as financial advisors, to be consistent, put money in at different times of the market. Don't try to time the market by putting everything in at once all the time. So dollar cost averaging on the way out, I'll let you to go that.
Yeah. So I probably, because of my age, I run into a lot of people who are nearing retirement, and I was at a Halloween party and somebody's like, Joey, I'm freaking out. The market's going down and I'm going to retire in, 2 to 5 years. And she's all looking down. I'm like, okay, one, you can't marry the high point of your account. It's going to hit highs and it's going to go up and down. You can't just tie yourself to that one high point. The other is dollar cost average out. We know you should consistently put some in at regular intervals as you're saving. You can do some of that on the way out too, so that you're not at the risk. Like a friend of mine who, the day the market was the lowest, he didn't have somebody to call or chose not to, and pulled most of it out of the market that day. Where I recommend, pull a little bit out as it's going up, and you see, hey, that's great, yay! Maybe I'll take just a little bit out and set it into something that's interest bearing, not going to go up and down a lot, and that way, my first couple months or year is going to be taken care of, and I'm not I'm not risking the 20 years I saved for just the next 6 months that I need.
Yeah, people have reverse psychology when it comes to that. They think I want to put more money in the market as it's going up and take money out as it's going down. And it actually should be opposite. I know we talk about that kind of a lot. So
it's kind of the emotional side. Everyone's happy when the market's going up and they feel like, oh, it's very, very easy. But really, it's the downside and the negative emotions you really got to control. That's when it really becomes tough to be an investor.
Well, and I think everybody's like, okay, I keep saving for this one goal, and then think, okay, well, you're not going to retire one day and spend it all then.
Yep.
You really
That's a great point. That's a great way to say that.
I like don't marry the high point.
Yeah. I've never heard that one before.
I'll use that one. That is a good term.
Yeah, tips for financial advisors by Joey Beech. I like it.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't marry the high point.
All right, Joey, I'm really interested in this as a female, and I think it's so cool you wrote a book. So you wrote A Girl's Guide to Personal Finance. Why'd you write it? What made you say, this is why I'm going to write A Girl's Guide to Personal Finance?
Well, I mentioned, my daughter and students at the University of Iowa who kind of inspired and gave me the first idea. But then when I was sitting down to write it, and I had a blank piece of paper, and I have read a lot of financial books, and then I'm thinking, why would anybody want to read this? And particularly young women. So I wanted to make it interesting, and I thought, okay, why am I interested in this topic? And it all comes back to my mother. In the 70s when the laws were much different and society was much different, she was in a hard point where she was faced with raising 3 kids on her own. And I learned the lessons the hard way because I watched the difficulty she had. And so that's what made it interesting for me. And I wanted to make sure that other young women didn't have to go through what she did. So that was really why I focused on women, was the personal stories, and because I wanted to make it interesting for them. Another common question I get is, when are you writing the guy's guide?
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
And honestly, my son actually was very helpful in writing the girl's guide and giving me some good feedback. It's been drafted. But has not yet come out.
We get a sneak peek.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
All right.
We'll have to have you back on.
That's
then. We can
awesome.
talk about the
Yeah,
guys.
when it comes out, we'll have to have you back on. But I can see the passion in your eyes, and I believe in real life storytelling. Why you wrote the book. You saw your mother struggling, and also this whole thing with your daughter. So it's great to have a story behind why you write the book. So.
So you're saying the target audience is younger women, or is it women throughout any age? Or who would pick this book up and be like, this is beneficial?
Well, the great thing is throughout the ages, but I think some of it is where you're at in your kind of relationship with money. So it was really designed for that new person in their career. That's who I will say benefit the most, because it really kind of lays out, here's the things to be setting yourself up for success over the next, couple years to lifetime career. At the same time, what I have found is it does help women of all ages. And actually, I've had some great reviews, some from gutsy guys. But the idea is also for mothers. It's a great way to start that conversation with your kids, because a lot of times one of the reasons we don't talk about money with kids or other people is that we aren't confident in ourselves. Well, hopefully I am giving them some information to where they could say, hey, I just read about this. What do you think? Or did you realize this fact? And it can be a conversation starter too.
I love that. I love that.
What do you think? I guess I'm sure you've gotten some views, or your daughter or people have read the book. What's maybe one of the biggest impact points from the book that you've seen or gotten from feedback from someone?
Is that it's not that scary. And somebody actually said, and I think it was a comment, she was like, I actually enjoyed this. And it's like, yeah, money can be interesting, and it doesn't have to be all spreadsheets and calculations, because so much of our financial life is about day-to-day decisions and habits we develop. And that's really where I focus, and helping people understand what the impact that those decisions have on themselves, on the people around them, and on their long-term life.
All right, so you wrote a book. You can find it. Where can you find your book?
Amazon.com, or go to my website, which will direct you to Amazon. It's joeybeech.com, and it's JoeyBeech.
Awesome. So you have a website, you podcast, you do speaking engagements. That's your full-time gig. How do people find you? How do they hire you? Or what do they hire you for?
It's evolved. What's been really interesting this past year is that I've started to, I work with Green State Foundation to provide some financial literacy content. They wanted to go beyond just the kind of generic financial literacy stuff that you find on a lot of websites. And so I'm working with them to provide and put some, more robustness to their financial literacy information. And then I've had employers have me in for lunch and learns. What they're finding is they're spending lots of money and time and energy to provide great benefits and a salary to their employees. But a lot of times those employees may not appreciate all the benefits they have, or how those benefits can really impact their life. So most recently, a lot of employers have been bringing me in just as a supplement to, here's some general stuff about personal finance that I can share in a way that doesn't work with HR.
What an added benefit, and how smart for employers, because I feel like so many people have benefits and they don't understand what these benefits are. So like, oh, I didn't look at it. I mean, we talk about the time, oh, I didn't enroll in my 401k. I don't know what a match is. You know what I mean? And I think you're just bringing light to that. That's awesome. What would you say your mission is with your job now as financial lit lady?
Oh, thanks for asking. My mission is to help everybody get comfortable with their own money, because I think when they are, we are all better off.
I love that. I love that mission, because I feel like just talking about it is the key, and learning about it is the key. And that's what it sounds like you're doing. So if you could give one financial advice to anyone, what would be the best advice you got or you would give someone today?
Oh, well, it's what everybody says, save. I often ask students or anybody I talk to, finish this sentence. I will manage my money today so I can. And it's the answer to that question that really will drive people to manage their money so that they can do the things they want.
Their why.
Exactly.
And write it down.
How would you answer that question, Bailey?
Oh, you want me to answer?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Ask me the question.
Yeah.
Finish this sentence.
Oh, boy.
I will manage my money today so I can
live comfortably and exactly how I want when I retire.
Clap.
Oh.
Good job.
Thanks.
It's fun to see. So I put it on a card that's the exact same size as a dollar bill, and have people put it in their wallet. And one of the students I ran into recently is like, yeah, I still have that in my wallet.
That's
I
awesome.
love that. That's
awesome.
such a good tip.
And to hear, it's from the student's perspective, sometimes it's so my family can live a stable life so that I can get through college. So, it's just fun to hear the answers to that question.
And then when you see it all the time, you're going, it keeps it front of mind. I love that
Manifesting.
tip. That's
Mm-hmm.
so good.
Yep.
We're big on goals and put them up. So that's great. I feel like we barely broke the ice with everything and we could easily have you back and have another episode, but tell people where they could find you, like how to contact you, how to get a hold of Joey Beech.
That's a great question. I am working to get better at social media. I am on LinkedIn.
Time out. I do know a company that could help with that, but keep going.
Thank you.
Plug just Caleb.
Good job there. So LinkedIn at first, and pretty much if you find Joey Beech, JoeyBeech, LinkedIn, Spotify under Financial Lit Lady, joeybeech.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, Joey Beech Author. And I think that's it.
Awesome. That's a lot. That's great.
Yeah,
and you have your podcast. Go listen to it. Go read your book. And we appreciate you so much. Anything else, guys?
A Girl's Guide to Personal Finance. Look at it up on Amazon.com. And you can always find us at centralfinancialgroup.com, cfgfortdodge.com. And we're on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. So
thank you.
Great having you.
Oh, I got to do my
Joey.
quote, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Okay. Ready? Honestly, I thought it was money. Caitlin Clark.
Go Cubs.
You've been listening to How to Money with Kole Cole, the podcast of the Central Financial Group, courtesy of Spin Market. To learn more, visit their website at www.centralfinancialgroup.com and follow them on all their social media platforms.
For now, I'm Cole,
And I'm Cole.
and we'll see you on the greens.
4.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associations Incorporated, member FINRA, SIPC. Royal Alliance Associations Incorporated is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associations Incorporated. Material discussed is meant for general informational purposes only, and it is not to be construed as tax, legal, or investment advice. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Diversification does not insure against loss. Any guarantees discussed refer only to fixed insurance products and are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.